And
To to be clear, the world. If we did a podcast called "The World According to Mike," I would 100% blow my brains out by the third episode. 100%. Um, I'm I'm I'm
Oh, there it is.
already just always on the verge. I mean, I can't. My jaw doesn't drop far enough when you say some of the things that you say. Where I'm just like, I mean, if it's the thing is, Mike, the if you go back into we like to imagine that we're in the midst of the greatest technological boom that the world has ever known. Um, but we have always liked to imagine that, and that's the thing. Like we have been we've liked to imagine that basically I mean just for all time, like
Well, I
in
think
the
we're right this time.
well, of course everybody thinks they're right this time. I mean,
Well, yes, but looking back, we are right this time.
and in 20 years, we'll be wrong.
Exactly. But we're right now.
I,
But right now,
I
we're right.
I'm
But
not.
you're defining speed, not technology. It's the speed of development is
It
faster now
is.
than it has been in
But
history.
if you take, you're correct at that. But if you take a snapshot of today, we are right now the most advanced.
I don't
Period.
advance. I mean,
I love
that's,
making
Yes.
rhetorical statements too.
yeah.
That's fun.
I mean, I'm not sure how advanced is a pretty. I'm not sure what
Meaning,
advanced means.
meaning we can do things today that we couldn't do literally. Like let's just use ChatGPT for example.
Okay.
Anything you name it. You phones, cell phones, the communication, the ability to wire money, the ability to have different my brokerage account I have on my laptop right now, and I could wire funds. If I go back into the 80s, I couldn't do any of
Okay,
that.
the Coliseum is literally still standing, and we can't figure out how to make a bridge last 30 years. I mean,
I get
the,
that. That's a problem. I know
but it's not
that,
a
but I'm not
problem.
talking about
It's
that. I'm
it's
not
like
talking about that.
it's different technological advancements. I
That's
mean,
that's
Romans.
but what
Hold
I'm
on.
Hold on. Romans had heated floors.
but
Heated
think, Brian,
floors.
Brian,
They
Brian,
figured
I
out
get
how to
that.
do radiant heat in their floors.
I get that.
Something we
I
figured
get
out how
that.
to do like 20 years ago.
And listen, we have all of that now. We have bridges now. We have heated floors now. They never had cell phones then. We are the most technologically advanced. Anything that they did then, except for building the pyramids, we can do today.
Can I comment for a second?
Absolutely.
Mike, I want to ask you a question because
Yes, yes, yes.
do you, are you, did your name change to Captain Obvious like sometime between the last couple of weeks? Because
Well, I
we
didn't
think
think
about what
so,
society would
but
be if we went backwards. Just think about what that would look like. That has never existed in history. It will never exist in history because why? We learn from the past. Well, we should,
In
but
theory,
we
yeah.
advance over time based on previous advancements, right? So what you're saying is really kind of rhetorically redundant. Like because yeah, it's like if I eat beans tonight, I'm going to shit in an hour. Yeah,
well, yeah,
that's
but then
true.
Brian would argue against that.
No.
Well, that's because you can go fishing with Brian because he goes down a wormhole that is
I
kind
mean,
of fun to watch him do at times, but it's that doesn't make the other statement less true.
I mean, the only argument that can be made against what Garrick is saying is Machiavelli's The Prince, right? The idea that all of history exists to educate the prince, the metaphorical
Yes.
prince. That the whole idea is that the prince will always be in a position to be a better ruler than his father because he will have the accumulated wisdom of everyone that his father had plus his father. And so therefore the prince is, and so all of history exists in order to educate the prince. And so the prince
Mhm.
is always going to be better. And the thing that shatters that, and that is from Machiavelli all the way, I mean, and probably before him, but obviously Machiavelli wrote it down. But from Machiavelli all the way up until until World War One, this held true. And then World War One happened, and people went, wait a second, if we've been getting smarter and better all the time, how the hell did this happen? Like this seems to be a devolution, not an evolution. And then World War II, of course, shatters that idea even farther. So are we more technologically advanced? Depending on the metric you're talking about. But like there are things in terms of, I mean, where I would quibble would be in things like what does advanced mean? We've figured out amazing things about like how to fight different diseases and things like that. We've also figured out how to poison our food on like an industrial scale so that none of us are able to like eat
Mhm.
healthy food
Yeah.
anymore because it's not profitable. to sell healthy food. So, is that advanced? I don't, but
yeah,
no, it's not really.
sure.
It's like we have
I mean,
food
if
that
you can,
poisons us, and then we have medicines to undo
if
the
you
poison.
can,
That's not
yeah, but if you can,
advanced.
yes, it is. If you can develop both at a whim, if you could just develop both, sure, it is. That's very advanced.
Right, but
And
that's
then
not
and the
better.
medicine's a great example. I'm not saying it's better. I'm
See,
just
Well,
saying
that's what
that's
advanced
advanced.
the
is.
and that's the delineating factor right there. He's not
Right.
saying it's better, but he
He's
is
saying
saying
it's
it's more
advanced.
advanced, which is true.
Sure, sure, sure.
But that means that a year from now, that statement will also be true.
Well, right. In
That we
this,
will be more
Correct.
in that,
advanced in a year
but
from now than we are today. What we're
but I would
doing with
also say,
AI,
but there is
as an
also the
example.
problem that
Yes.
as we quote unquote
Yes.
advance, we forget technology at just as fast a rate as we learn new technology. This is trivial,
Yep.
but one of the guys I follow on fashy.com, I'm x.com, twitter.com, is this guy named Derek Guy, who is essentially just does like men's fashion stuff. He's fascinating. Not the kind of thing you'd ever think that I would follow, but I really like this guy. He's great. And he did
You're gonna
an
get fashion tips now on this podcast. Like, I can't wait for
no,
this.
I'm
All right.
not. I'm not. Derek Guy's great though. I mean, he's fantastic. I'd never in a million years would have thought I'd follow a fashion guy, but he's terrific. And he deals exclusively with men's fashion and like whatever. It's
Okay.
just he's just really good. Anyway,
Yes.
and like he whatever, doesn't matter.
Okay.
He
Okay.
but he did a thing the other day where he said, men's pants today look like shit. Everybody's trousers look like shit. Even celebrities' trousers look like shit. Because he said one of the main reasons that this is common, it's not always, but like it's common, is because ironing has been lost as a skill. Now,
Never did it in my life.
no, not you.
Mm-mm.
Tailors ironing. No. This is the thing. He was saying, like, a good Savile Row tailor, you used to have to take your trousers in every few weeks to be re-ironed. And using these different techniques with the iron, they would literally stretch the fabric and mold it in certain directions, not just flattening it, but molding it so that, he says now, because everything isn't, even bespoke clothing, people don't know how to do properly because everything is done, like the legs are all done straight. But our legs aren't straight. They're kind of like reverse S's. And so you see so many people with fabric bunched at their ankles or bunched at their knee because the pants don't lay right, whereas they used to iron the pants into, but it doesn't, my point is, and then he shows a bunch of like retro pictures and like modern pictures and you see side by side. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the reason why this one is a hard one for me though is while that may be true, fashion determines what people wear in a lot of ways. So things do go out of style and no longer are dépassé, right? Like where they are in style to do. Like
Sure.
things being bunched up right now. Like if you're wearing like parachute pants, like that we all knew in the 90s, you are going to be ridiculed in public. And I realize you don't really iron parachute pants, for that's not the right example, but we used to have cuffed bottoms of our suit pants,
Yeah.
right? And that
Sure.
is no longer in style. So while fashion has also changed, that can't be ignored as a factor in relation to ironing, as an
Of
example.
of course. Sorry, I'm gonna try and see if I can pull this up really quick. Yes, understood. However, I mean the point was more just that he's like it's this style that he's describing can't even be done anymore because the skill has literally been forgotten. No one knows how to do it. And now there was some pushback in his commentary where people were like, you can still find the tailors that know how to do it in like Thailand. They still do it. And there are certain places, but just by and large, it was, the point being we've lost we've lost the skill. We've forgotten the skill because because other technologies came along
Oh
and we're like,
shit.
oh, this isn't as important anymore. Wow, he posts so much, it's hard to get back to where he was
This
talking
is
to
where
Eddie.
I do product placement and say my time at the Rusty Scupper would not allow me to ever forget how to iron, even though it was all supposed to be dry cleaned.
Sure. Well, yes. Yes. The the point about the ironing wasn't about so much just like what we as like end users do for ironing. It was more about it being a highly technical skill that was, practiced and
True dry cleaning level of ironing is, I mean, really the only, not to sound horrible, but the only place is everybody's Asian now. If you go to all of them, they're all Asian owned. I've never seen an American one. Well, at least American operated one, I should say. I don't know who owns it. That's not a fair statement. So
Sure. Sorry,
not
let
in a
me,
long time.
I'm going to see if I can, I know I've got to be close here. Although, anyway, I really, this guy, he's really worth following.
For
If I
fashion
can,
tips.
it's if it was just that, I think I wouldn't be interested. It's hard to explain.
Yeah,
You know,
it
there was
is.
something
It
about that
sure
beard.
is.
Yeah. Is that why you're growing the beard out and getting that little gray? Because he's like, no, really, own
I
it,
think
Brian.
I think I'm doing
This
the
is gonna make
opposite.
you look more debonair.
I think I'm doing the opposite of what he would suggest, to be perfectly honest. Let me see if I can. Sorry, I remember it wasn't that long ago that I saw this piece on the ironing, so I thought I could just scroll down to it. But here, I'm going to share my screen while I look at this, so you see what you see at least what I'm talking about. Oops.
Sports.
Yes, I know. It's fine.
Fashion tips.
All right, let's see.
You
Sorry.
spend way more time on that site than I do.
Yeah, I know.
It's got nothing good on it anymore. It's gone so far downhill since Musk took over.
Oh my gosh, it's pure fascism all the time. It's unbelievable. The hate speech that I have to see on a regular basis is amazing.
Well, at least there were moderation, there was some moderation
Yeah, it was
prior,
always a hell
and now
site.
there's nothing.
It was always a hell
Yeah.
site, but now it's I mean, and then we just had the Elon Night of Long Knives where he or the Night of Elon Knives when he purged all these journalists. Now at least at least one of them is back. See, it won't let. I've always hated the search feature because it won't let you. Oh well. It's not going to let me now. That's going to take me something different. All right. Well, whatever. Anyway, whatever. Oh well. I tried. It's farther back than I thought. But I do like this. Sorry. So one last moment here. See, I like this because I like that he'll say hey, here's a way that you can really step your outfit up, step your
What,
your
by shaving
ensemble.
your chest and unbutton the top 4 buttons?
I do that already.
Yeah, of course you do.
It's more just like
Look at this, the same guy. It's a different guy. Is it Jeffrey Epstein on the left? I can't tell.
Oh my God, no.
He
talks.
It would be.
And but he does stuff like this. He'll talk to you about how a suit is actually supposed to fit in order to,
that is an inaccurate statement. If it's based on that picture, that is not how your suit should look.
Absolutely not. Look at that dude.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be fashion police here, but that is an absolutely that'd be the last time I looked at him if he recommended that last suit, because that is a suit from the 80s. That's what Tom Hanks wore in Big. Let's be honest, when he converted back to being a little kid. He's just where it's all hanging and drooping down.
But here's what he's saying,
the one on the left is yes.
Just go get it fitted. Just go get a fitted suit.
Anyway,
you won't have to worry about it.
Yes. You actually don't get a fitted suit because you'll never want anything that's not fitted ever again.
That's true.
I want to do the 1970s Jack Nicholson with the big wide lapel. I guess the point is,
bring it back.
Yeah.
Fashion makes a turn and comes back around. It's only a matter of time before the butterfly collar comes back.
Fashion forward, baby.
I can tell.
Welcome to USVN, the Unbalanced Sports Views Network, where we discuss Derek Guy, Dye Workwear, and his opinions about suits. Apparently, that's what we do. Gentlemen, we've reached the end of the regular season. We have a dead heat in our pick'em with Mikey the Greek up 1 point going into the playoffs, and a two-way tie at 134. We are all shooting at basically 51% for the season.
Is there any way to get to 52?
Is there any way to get to what?
52
That's
mathematically.
a lot of math I have no intention of doing right
I
now.
have no idea. I mean,
Are we too deep into the season to move a percentage point with these games left?
I'm not sure.
All
I
right.
can tell you this though. I had run uh, a pick 'em through the season, just getting rid of the spreads and everything else, just picking,
Uh-huh.
who I thought
How'd you do?
about 72%.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds about right. That sounds about
About
right.
72%. So
Yeah.
I abandoned it 2 weeks ago just because I forgot to put picks in. So I didn't get the last 2 weeks, but it was like 72.5% or something like that. And so yeah, the difference between trying to pick point spread and just picking winners is a remarkable difference. I mean,
Absolutely.
almost a 25% spread between the
No
two.
question.
So yeah, it's funny too. I've been paying closer attention this season to the so-called experts as they pick their handful of hand-selected games that they
Terrible.
decide to. Well, what I've noticed though is the way they pick. Like the NFL Network is notorious for this. They kind of talk about the spread and then ignore it in their picks.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
base and if you look at the scores that they pick, it's pretty it's crazy. Like they are constantly picking games 25-24, 23-21, constantly 2 point, 1 2 point games,
Yeah.
3 point games, which you can then calculate based on the spread or whatever. But man, they are, especially NFL Network, seems like they really hedge in order to make every game seem like it's going to be a barn burner.
It's true. And
You know,
like they'll predict it on Monday Night Football. Same way they'll be like, "Oh, well, the spread is 7 points, and I picked so and so to win by 4."
Yeah, yeah.
Well, uh, so you're taking the underdog in that scenario, even though you're picking the winner. Like it's the everyman betting strategy, is what it is
Right.
that they're doing.
well, I'll be honest with you. What you said though, none of those people are experts. The experts are in Vegas. Like there's people who are not. I would say me, you, and G Money are way smarter at picking games than any of those idiots on any of the networks. I don't care if they're ex football players or not. They could barely pick it, like you said, head to head. They could barely even do that usually accurately. Those guys wouldn't stand a chance picking the spread. None of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
I just thought none of them really impressed me. They really don't.
no, nor I. The ones that really surprise me are like the Matthew Berries, the guys who have a job because they're supposed to be some sort of fantasy guru, which allegedly, I mean, I guess that's a different skill set, but in
Yeah.
theory, the fantasy gurus are the ones that also usually come in because they were the guys that were making accurate picks at at a certain percentage, and you go, those guys, are just as bad as everyone else.
Yeah.
Um,
I
which is
feel like
why,
the fantasy gurus just know more players. They just study the individual players more than anyone
well,
else, so they like know more about them. It's not like they can predict anything else or whatever. So I feel like it's almost just they just have more knowledge about their names and shit.
yeah, I mean, I think some of them do a nice job of like really getting into you know the fine details of what it is that makes one player um, have a great game against a certain kind of a defense and then be pretty
Yes.
mediocre against another kind of defense. You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
when for most of us,
Yep.
when we look, on paper, you go, well, you got Justin Jefferson going up against whatever 24th ranked secondary, and you go, that should be a no brainer. Justin Jefferson should have a great game, and then you neglect that that 24th ranked secondary also happens to be really good at covering this specific kind of route that they're not beaten this way, but they are beaten by teams like that run the slant over the middle. That's who beats them and kills them. But one on one on the outside, they're fine. Whatever, those kinds of fine details that for most of us, we're just like, I don't know, the secondary seems pretty bad. Seems like they give up 30 points every week. So without
The most
without necessarily watching the game where they're giving up 30 points because it's 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, 50. You know what I mean?
the
That
most you're right. You're absolutely right. And the most impressive of all of them, the most impressive people that pick these games are the ones that set the spread in Vegas.
Yeah, but
because the spread is so close on all of these games. It's
that's the thing
amazing.
about the spread. Oh, I mean, I'm always a little baffled by people who are really impressed with the way they pick the spread as if it's accurate. I'm not sure how accurate it is. It's
Oh, it's very accurate. If you
but the
look at
spread.
not so much who covers and doesn't cover, but how close to the spread it is.
Well, I mean,
Like
that's kind of an
it's
inevitability. I mean, most games in the NFL are going to be close, so most games are going to be within a couple of points of the spread. That makes sense.
If you look at when we pick the games, not so much this week because we're only picking a few because of the playoffs, but like if we pick our games, sometimes I look at the spreads and I'm almost like, how in the hell did they come up with that? And then the game goes off and it's within a point. Regularly coming.
The point total, right? Yeah. Yep.
Um,
No, I'm with you. I mean, obviously they set it at one stage, but I do think obviously there's a variable too with the number of bets that get made. Because if they set it in
It moves the line, yeah.
way too far off, that's when you see the line move like a point and a half, or when a major injury happens, like because everybody's leaning in the other way. I mean, they're usually, but Mike's right. Like I wouldn't say all the time, but maybe 75% of the time, like they're within 1 to 2 points of the number they originally set, which is pretty. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal when you think about it too.
but here's the thing with as far as setting this though, since 2000 from 2003 to 2020, I'm looking at this this graph here. In those 17 years, about 15% of all NFL games were decided by 3 points. About little over 9%, 9.5% were 7 points. The margin was 7 points. So just between those two numbers, that like a quarter of every NFL game is going to be decided by 3 or 7. And so you have those two tent poles within which to make to put your your spread and then work from there. I mean, 4% were decided by 1 point, less than 4%, and 4% were decided by 2. I mean, this is, you can kind of just, I mean, you just look at the numbers between 0 and 7 is the vast majority of games. So until you have a matchup of Niners Cardinals or Niners Commanders, you don't have to think beyond the 7. You just have to, you can kind of vibe it. Like, oh, well, because again, the vast majority of your games are going to be within 7 points or less. And then if you go to 10 points or less, it's even, obviously even more. So
every man's strategy is so great with over 7 points.
I guess my point just being that, the people who set the spread in Vegas, their whole goal is to just 50-50 out the betting. That's all they care about.
So this week, 10 games of this 16 were more than 7 points, 8 points or more.
Okay.
Like I'm just saying, I realize it's a one. You're right. They're definitely using loads of analytics. They're using all of what you just talked about, right? Like that's helping them determine this. It's still impressive, though.
No,
to me,
right.
it's impressive, even though they are using the math behind it to get to that stage.
Yeah,
it's still impressive at how close the math is on it.
Yep.
I mean,
with
I
all the
would like to
variables
see
and players and coaching and play calling and weather conditions and everything else that goes into that.
I would like to. Well, sure, but again, I mean, I would really be curious to know how many games conclude within 1 point of whatever the spread is, either direction. I'd like to know what that number is.
Sure, we can track it next year.
Yeah, I mean, but also, because their goal is always to, I mean, if for some reason, you had some whales jump in on the side of one side or the other and put so much money down on a 15-point spread, you could easily see that spread drop to 10 or 9 in a game that is clearly a lopsided match. You know what I mean? Like because all they care about is balancing the books. I guess that's not that matters.
You're right.
But,
they don't care about winning or losing. They
that's
care
my
about
point.
remaining in the green. Correct.
Right. And that has nothing to do with the accuracy of the spread. It has to do with the accuracy of the vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the algorithm they're looking at is the algorithm that determines the betting vibe. You know what I mean? Which I'm not going to say isn't related to the game. Of course, it's actually related to the actual reality, but it is all vibes. It's vibes all
I
the way
think
down.
very little of what they do is anything to do with a vibe. I think the general public bets on vibes. They
That's my point.
bet on statistics. They place
Yes.
the line on all statistics
Yes.
and numbers and everything
But those
else.
statistics are less about how the
But
game's actually going to end and more about the vibes of the bettors. They want to pick the number that will generate 50% interest on both sides of that number. So they are interested in trying to find
well,
the
they
middle
don't
ground of the vibe.
because I don't think that they necessarily do. The casinos do, yes, but I don't think it's. I think what happens is it's a group of people that get together to set the line, but I don't necessarily know if they're the casinos per se.
But the
It might be a
odds always end up taking some of those winnings, no matter if you win or lose. So they're getting paid for every transaction, and then they're banking on the fact that you're going to lose more than you win.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
no
that's
question.
where they're
And
making all
they
their
don't
money.
care if you lose more than you win. They don't care if you do. They just care
Right.
that 50% of the people betting lose more.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, again,
yeah.
they don't care. Like, it's fine for them if you hit a 14 team parlay for $28 million or whatever.
No,
they don't
know what
care. Huh?
They do. They
Well,
do. They care. They care
28.
about that. That's not the right
That would
example.
be
but they,
amazing.
I mean, they
That'd be
don't, I mean,
amazing.
they care, but they don't care because they also know that 400 million people miss the 14 team parlay.
So this happened in well, not the parlay, but yeah, I forget which year it was, like 2018 or somewhere in that time frame, when Leicester City won the Premier League. They had just been promoted up. Some
Yeah.
dude put $500 down on them to win, and it's just because it's his hometown team.
Sure.
About 2/3 of the way through the season, all the reports start coming out that the bookies that he had made the bet through were trying to get him to cash out because
Sure.
if they actually won that, they were going to have to pay so much more money.
Sure.
So they do care, I think, on those bigger bets. But you're right. Your point is still valid in that it's about the whole, not the
I'm not
individual.
saying the individual casino might care. The individual sports book cares, but the institution doesn't care. Like the institution, right? The institution is still going to make money. Even if it dips that one day, it doesn't matter. They're not making their money day by day. Anyway, speaking of all of this stuff, all right. First things first, before we get into the games, I just want to really quick, I thought it was a bit of a surprise. Oh, well, first off, I want to celebrate Art Smith, gone from the Falcons. So the Falcons have a chance next year. Good for them. It's the other coach's head I've been calling for most of the season. So I'm happy to be vindicated. Brandon Staley and Arthur Smith hit the bricks. Go take your fail son ass somewhere else. And then a bit of a surprise today, I thought, with Mike Vrabel being candidate.
Yeah, I thought
Oh,
that
he was? I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was let go today. I was surprised. I thought they were gonna keep him around.
He's a good coach. I think he's had some, he had a couple of things go not his way. Trading AJ Brown was certainly a bad choice, but I don't know that was his choice.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, not to mention the fact, like the thing that surprised me today is that the report that came out is they decided to fire him instead of trade him, which means somebody had inquired about him. Like, why wouldn't they have considered draft capital or something in exchange for him if they're planning to get rid of him anyway?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I thought about that as well, where I was like, well, on some level, I guess you could argue that this was out of a respect to him so that he has the freedom to go where he wants. But that seems it's certainly a bad business decision.
Sure.
Or it seems like a bad business decision, but I don't know. I mean,
unless what you're getting in return isn't that
right.
Okay, so it's a 7th round pick anyway, and how often is Brock Purdy the right answer? So
Sure. But yeah, I was pretty surprised to see Vrabel go. I am concerned that both of our Baltimore boys might be gone, as Monken and McDonald are both getting interviews.
I don't think going. I can see McDonald going. I don't know about Monken.
Yeah,
and how many openings are out there right now?
5.
So you've got. Are you including the Patriots in this or no?
No, because we don't know yet. You
Right,
got
we
the
don't know.
right. So it's the Chargers, the Panthers, and I mean I wouldn't touch that job with a 10-foot pole. The Commanders,
I could make an argument against that.
the
Like
Raiders.
it's
Yeah.
the least risk job that exists in Carolina. You have a sociopath for an owner that no one will blame you if you're not successful. You've got Drew Brees, but without the talent at quarterback. Like you're literally not going to
Sure.
have anything going your direction. So if you fail, who
Ugh.
cares? Of course you did, and you're not to blame for it. Like
Yeah.
it, and he's going to throw $70 million at you, fire you in a year and a half, and let you go anyway because he
Maybe.
has no patience. So.
Yeah, maybe. I actually, speaking of the Panthers, I did want to bring up one thing because we talked about Frank Reich, that maybe this is maybe Frank Reich needed to go. We talked about when he got fired, and I just brought up, just for whatever it's worth. And again, I know who, I don't even know who it was that replaced him. It's so irrelevant because that team is so talentless. But with Reich as head coach, the team averaged 15.73 points per game, which is not good. But
No, it's
once
worse.
he was gone, the Panthers averaged 10.5 points per game. And they got shut out both of the last two games, which is
Yeah.
pretty horrendous. And so already at 15.73 points per game, that's, probably the worst or second worst in the NFL already. But to drop to 10 is, I mean,
Bad.
Suggest that as tough a job as that was for Frank Reich, he was accomplishing something there relative to once he was gone. I mean, he was, a full, 50% higher in total points per game than his replacement. So pretty
Well,
bad.
and they don't really have a ton of talent, really. I mean,
No, it's
you
talentless
got
team.
Adam Thielen on the downside of his career, and beyond that, like Chuba Hubbard feels like a decent number two, but not your lead guy. And
Right.
like DJ Chark had what, one good game this year?
Yeah,
And I
he's
really and I don't know much about their offensive line. I can't sit here and say I watched a lot of Carolina games because they're not an easy watch.
Nope.
no, they are not. I was trying to look. They also have, let's see, I'm looking, they have Von Bell, who is a decent safety. They got
Yeah.
former Raven Bradley Bozeman on the offensive line, who's not bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
They have Brian Burns at linebacker, who is a talent. And then wait, I'm still looking. I'm looking. Sorry, I'm looking.
No, I know. They're
They have
almost as
Shaq. They have Shaq Griffin, who
yeah, I mean they're almost as devoid of talent as the Patriots are, but without the head coach that they have.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
the
yes.
Patriots defensively, I think is okay. It's their offense that's very barren.
Wait, the Panthers have Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, they do. The cornerback,
Yes.
who, by the way, was cut by the Broncos and then signed because he's that good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's I mean it's a I mean I'm looking, it is a devoid of talent roster.
but that's
I
where
mean,
the GM situation in the NFL, I think it's never been more prominent to me to see the teams that have good GMs and bad teams. You can
Oh
see it in
yeah.
the talent pool on each of these teams.
Yep.
yeah. Oh, they have former Raven Chris Wormley as well. Anyway,
Interesting.
again, pretty. Other than Bradley Bozeman was solid. Wormley was always a rotational guy. He wasn't, never quite lived up to the hype. I think he came out of Michigan. And congratulations to Jim Harbaugh. Michigan.
Yeah, Jimmy B.
So going back to we got 5 openings, right? And I would say with Vrabel being released, 3 are now taken because Vrabel's going to land somewhere. I don't see him going back to a DC. He's too good of a head coach.
Sure.
And like you said, he's been dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
Harbaugh's coming out. You don't hire the NFL agent that he did and not come out.
No,
right?
He's coming out. I figured if he won, he was coming out.
And then the what's his name? The dude in Detroit, the offensive coordinator,
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. Those 3 are all getting jobs. Then you have guys like Bieniemy in Washington, who has been rumored for years that could potentially. That's why I don't think we're losing both our guys.
Yeah.
I could see us losing potentially McDonald. I would hope that both do what Ben Johnson did, like Monken and McDonald. Like, let's hope we win, number one. But then to go, hey, we won. What if we come back again next year? Because really, we've got all the pieces to do it
Sure.
all over again. Why not? And then from there,
Yeah.
take that next.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
Marvin
I don't
Lewis,
think
like
Monken
Marvin Lewis did. I mean, he came back after the Super Bowl because he was like, well, what's one more year?
Right.
You
Yep.
know, I mean, and
Yeah.
then little did he know Jamal Lewis would go down on, like, you know,
The first play of
day one,
practice.
and we would have to try and win with Terry Allen, who was, you know, about 52 when we signed him off the
Yeah.
trash heap. Good Lord, I remember, I was like, Terry Allen. There's not anybody better out there than like
I know.
than Terry Allen, who was never that good when he was in his prime.
Right.
Hasn't
Oh,
seen his prime in
God.
a decade.
Speaking of the Ravens, I want to ask you guys a question because
Yeah,
I had a
yeah.
buddy of mine ask me this question,
Okay.
and he just asked me, "Where do I think this team we have now ranks in the historical teams of the Ravens?" And I went out and said, "This is probably the most talented team we've ever had, top to bottom."
Top to bottom. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't
Because
disagree with
I'm
that.
like, you go back to like
Yep.
the 2001 Ravens, that defense was better than this defense.
Sure.
But that offense was abysmal to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
with it, right? And so
I mean, they
it's
went 5 games without a touchdown.
Well,
I mean, you know, that's without an
yeah,
offensive touchdown.
yeah.
Without an offense. I
right.
mean, that's pretty bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the
And
defense,
then,
I looked it up
I mean,
statistically, and
the,
it's like the defense back then, it was almost like your statistic with Frank Reich. It's almost a 5-point per game average difference between this year's defense and that year. It was like 16 and 10 point whatever.
yeah.
sure.
So it was really interesting.
That was our record-breaking year. That was the record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who did they
10
four
points.
shutouts that year or something too? I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, something
Yep.
that just does not happen in the NFL anymore.
Yeah.
Something
That
like
was
50 turnovers too. It was like
crazy.
wild.
Yeah. It was
So
crazy.
just to rank them off the top of my head, I think that one, the Super Bowl year, was our number one best team overall. Like if they had to play each other, this season, this one I would say probably our second best. And then I think it's really close between Flacco's Super Bowl. There was the 2019 team where we should have fucking won a bunch but lost first round of the playoffs. And then the only other one was the one where what's his face? Oh man. The quarterback from the Titans that we had. What's his name?
McNair.
Aaron McNair. When McNair, we were in the playoffs, we lost to the Colts, I think, that year in the playoffs, and it was a shit game. We held Peyton Manning to like 13 points or something.
Yeah, but he had like
or no, we lost 16 to
something.
13 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But I thought we had a really good team then. So, but I thought we've had historically, we should have had more Super Bowls.
I don't know about that. I mean, that's
maybe one, but not the whole Flacco year. The thing is number one, he made no mistakes, which is not Flacco-esque.
right.
Number two, we should have lost that Bronco game. I was at that game. We had turned Peyton Manning over like 3 times. And yes, they had 2 kick returns for touchdowns, which that's an anomaly too. And it took a Hail Mary still at the end just to go into overtime.
Right.
Like, and if we don't make it through that game, nothing else even occurs.
Right.
Like so I don't know that.
You're
I
right.
do feel like this team talent and stacking them up. It's just, I think part of it is Lamar, right? He's such an X factor.
Of course.
Very deep on the. It's the best talent we've ever had. No question.
Yeah.
The last Super Bowl,
no doubt.
The last Super Bowl team was less about us having the most talented team and more about getting hot at the right time. I mean, Flacco caught fire at the right time, and sparked by the hey diddle diddle Ray Rice up the middle, and then in that Broncos game. I mean, that was it just, and then then he just played flawlessly from that point forward. But I mean, the defense was very good, but Ray was not the Ray that we remember.
Exactly.
He was tactically, he was still tactically very smart, but he wasn't,
he was duct taped together, man.
He could
His
get
bicep
run over.
was hanging off.
He could get, he was at a place where he could get run over, something that was inconceivable 5 years earlier. Like he could get run over and miss tackles. And like that, again, like just inconceivable. I mean, Ed Reed was still in his prime, but again, like at the tail end of his prime. And I mean, on offense, I mean, just didn't have the talent. I mean, we had Heap. Do we have Heap? Yeah, Heap and Ray Rice, or was that the Dennis Pitta?
Heap, He never won a Super Bowl, I don't
So it
believe.
was, I guess
I think it was Pitta.
was it Pitta and
Pitta.
Early Pitta.
Pitta and what was the other guy? I can't remember the other guy. Ed something.
Can't even tell you who our wide receivers were that hardly. I mean, I know Jacoby Jones, of course, like because of the exciting plays that he would pull out, but the
Sure.
Tory, right? And of course
Yeah,
Tory.
Tory.
Duh, but I mean, like
And
going
Anquan.
beyond the top two.
We had Anquan.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Hugh.
Anquan.
Yeah, we had Anquan. But again, we had like a 33-year-old Anquan, or whatever.
Who was awesome.
Who was
Who was
awesome.
awesome. He was awesome.
But I mean, again, who was awesome.
We should have never let him go. We should have never let him go.
Who was awesome, but was also, what was like, he was still could put the offense on his shoulders.
Oh yeah.
Get a couple of first downs when you really needed him and all that, but he was not the Anquan. Again, he was a diminished Anquan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tory was great. I mean, I wish we had never let Tory go. I mean, I love Tory Smith. But.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on the talent around him.
But he was a one-trick pony. He was very good at catching a deep Flacco ball. Sure.
Did you guys? I don't know if you guys played a lot of sports growing up, but the Anquan Bolden and even Ray and even Steve Smith to some extent, like those guys. When I grew up as a kid, I grew up playing a lot of soccer and basketball mainly.
Sure.
And I always would play in like church leagues and stuff on the side, and I would always get some kind of rotund guy that's about the same height as me that has no business playing basketball, but he was in his 30s, 40s, kind of.
Sure.
And I could do nothing. Like he would dominate me. And it's not that he was better or more talented; it's he was smarter.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what makes these guys still relevant in the game when they get up to. But not everybody has that. There's special people who have that.
Sure.
And it just always has fascinated me when you see it in the professional sports world. Those guys that are clearly at the end, but somehow they're still doing it, and you don't know how. So
yeah, where's your camera, Mike? Yeah, no, there's guys that are like
it's up your ass.
There's guys that who. You see it. There's two different kinds of aging player in the NFL in particular. There's the guys who, as they age, keep trying to play the same game and their diminishment becomes more and more obvious.
Sure.
And then there's the guys who learn to play the game differently. And those are the ones who
Also Flacco.
Suddenly.
It's like he's both of those people, right? It's who he was with the Jets towards the end, and then who he's become this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, you had a little time to reflect on it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the matter? Your camera's broken, Mike? It's up your ass?
No, it's not. I said it's up.
Are we doing a colonoscopy live?
He's surfing the web is what he's doing. Remember, he told us that. Whenever he goes off screen because he's bored with the conversation.
Oh, okay. It's your dedication to professionalism that I really like.
If you chime in more, maybe you won't get so bored, buddy.
I know.
Well,
have something valuable to offer.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, never mind. This could be a minute two and show.
Oh, good. Now I get to look at the skirt.
You said Joe Flacco back in time. He would dominate.
He would dominate.
He would.
We're doing curtain upskirts now. This is cool.
He would dominate.
Feel like a Japanese businessman. All right. Sorry.
Oh God, that's just too funny.
So
both of you do.
Can we talk about this? Talk about that Steelers Ravens game now, since we'll just start with that for a minute.
I didn't even watch it.
I was literally packing for my trip while I watched this because I'm like, this game is going to be hot garbage.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what I expected it to be. Our offense, it was just not. It's not that there wasn't talent on both sides. It's the scheme was a very conservative, don't get anybody hurt scheme. And Pittsburgh still barely beat us, which is crazy.
Yeah. I think bodes poorly for them in the playoffs. Yeah, I thought the same thing. And I also thought I was like, I saw that, Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar were getting the start. And then throughout the whole game, every time I see the wide receivers in the huddle, I'm like, Laquan Treadwell, maybe Aguilar. I'm like, man, Tylan Wallace was in there a bunch. I'm like, man, they are like, I mean, even Rashad didn't play much. I don't think he had a catch, and I don't think he was targeted. Likely didn't play a lot. I saw a lot of Charlie Kolar. and
What-
nothing creative, you know.
Whatever happened with Treadwell? Because I remember when he came out, like there was a lot of hype around him.
Sure, he's a first round
Did
pick.
was he? Did he go to Minnesota first and then
Yeah.
Seattle,
He
or
went to
is that
Minnesota.
okay?
Yeah, he
I
went
am
to Minnesota.
remembering that right then, because I remember we picked him up as a free agent, and he really hasn't even seen the field. Which
He's our fifth
I'm like,
guy. Yeah.
is he the fifth guy? Is that what
Yeah,
it is? Like,
he's done some special teams work. I mean, I've seen him in there in special teams. I've seen him in there occasionally, but like he's not even always the fifth guy. Sometimes they've used Tylan Wallace.
right.
I mean, Treadwell's an
After the
interesting
French
case because he's a first round pick, but like obviously things went off the rails for him. But I mean, because we have 5 first round receivers, I think. OBJ,
So,
Zay Flowers, Aguilar,
oh, that's right, and Bateman.
Bateman, and Treadwell. Yeah, we've got 5.
I didn't realize Aguilar was a first rounder.
Yeah, he was a first round pick. And I mean,
Wow.
you know,
That's why the Patriots are terrible.
well, I mean, and you look at
No,
Aguilar,
he was
like
Philly,
he's
wasn't he?
he's not a first. I mean, he's not what you're hoping for out of a first round pick, obviously, but he's certainly a competent, useful piece.
He's a player in the NFL for
He's a
sure.
player in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Treadwell, I mean, from what the little that I've read, like it seems like Treadwell is a pretty good contributor on special teams. So, I mean, I think, you know, if you can be a fifth guy who, you know, if they can send you in there, you've got good enough hands catch pass if necessary, but you can contribute on special teams. Great. Like that's a great insurance policy to have, you know, to have that guy. You know, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, I knew they'd have a conservative game plan, although I thought they might try to get Tyler Huntley throwing the ball a little bit just to get into a rhythm in case they needed him in the playoffs. You know,
He
it would be
likely.
Didn't he
was
play?
about
Well,
it.
but I think the weather, I think they changed things because of the weather was so bad.
The
I think
weather was pretty bad. Yeah.
pretty bad. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I had to say about it. I was a little bit surprised because I thought they might send Huntley out there firing to start the game, really try to open things up for a quarter or so just to see if they can, you know, knock the rust off of him. He has not played all season. And so,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
I mean, he
thank
has
God.
taken a couple of fourth quarters. He's not a bad, I think Tyler Huntley's a competent
I like him.
quarterback. Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Honestly,
Um,
he looked just like he did last year to me.
yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't.
Yeah.
He's a backup, and
Oh,
I would
totally.
love to. I would love to see a slightly more either aggressive game plan or talented backup come in. Like I think that would be to our benefit.
Mhm.
Because he's fine, but he's not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's just there's something missing from there, and it's like, and I don't know what it is. Maybe that's why we picked up, was it Harrison or whatever? Like the
Yeah,
kid who follows Lamar at
Malik
Louisville.
Cunningham.
Oh, Cunningham. Sorry,
Malik.
I was thinking like Harrison, but no,
Oh, I
that's the
saw
guy.
he was in there as a wide receiver as well. He came in as a
Yeah.
wide receiver. Yeah, I'm curious. I think they're trying to convert him to a wide receiver. I think because he's an athletic guy, he'd be an interesting ad if they can
Sure.
turn him into
For
a,
sure.
you know, turn him into a weapon. We'll see.
Yep.
All right, let's see. I mean, that was it.
Beyond
There's
that,
nothing.
the only other thing to say about that is the Steelers, any possibility they had, I think went out the window when Watt went down.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't seem
Yeah.
like he only seems.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems like if they were to manage a couple of wins, would be back.
But not going into the postseason.
Yes, that's
Like
true.
mid-season, yes, not going in and now getting ready to play Buffalo.
Yeah, I
in
didn't think it was
Buffalo.
that. I didn't look. It looked like it wasn't. so
I thought
serious.
they said he's going to at least miss 1 week, but it's not
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah. But yeah, but you got to go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
All right, Texans Colts. Did you guys watch that game? That was actually a really good
Oh.
game.
It was a very good game.
I flipped around. I think I saw bits and pieces.
That was a really entertaining game.
Now, did it matter to the Colts? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, it mattered to both.
Yeah, the loser
Yes.
went home. The winner was in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a
And
playoff
so-
game.
And as it turned out, the winner
We're going to end
won
up
the
with
South.
Houston.
No, we're not.
We're going to end up with Houston,
We
right?
got to buy.
No,
We
I
have a
mean,
bye
we're going
this
to
year.
end up with Houston.
Oh,
It
I don't know.
depends. It depends. Miami might beat Kansas City as well. So
Yeah,
like and who knows? It depends on who.
I mean,
Houston
Browns.
has the division.
the Houston has
Yeah.
the Browns.
Yeah, it could be that we get the
Yeah.
Browns.
I
mean,
you know,
I
Any
know
of
that was
those-
his nightmare
the-
situation.
the NFL. I mean, the NFL screenwriters this season we're gonna talk about the playoff matchups a little bit later. But like the screenwriters really did a nice job. I mean, the Browns have to go to Houston, where Deshaun Watson got traded from Houston to the
Yes.
Browns. They get that going back in. You've got Tyreek going back to Kansas City.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There's one more.
Is it it's and then you've got the Packers. You got the Mike McCarthy going back to the Packers.
I'm not even thinking about that
Or
one.
sorry, the other
I
way
was
around.
thinking,
You got the Packers
talking-
going to see Mike McCarthy.
no, I'm talking about Matt Stafford going back to Detroit,
I was getting
which
to
is
it.
also on there. Yeah.
And Stafford and Goff going back to play their former teams.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, for sure.
But hey, it's not rigged.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's not rigged.
It's a lot. There's a lot of stuff there this
I
year.
love it.
There's nothing. I don't think there's any extra drama to the Steelers, Bills, or the Eagles, Bucks. But 4 of the 6 games are like.
Yes, there is.
Game of the week.
Mike Tomlin and Sean McDermott were roommates in college.
Were they?
Yes.
Oh, well, there
that
you go.
was announced during the Miami and Buffalo game
I didn't even
on
realize.
Sunday night.
Realize.
So that's the only reason I have that note.
I did not. I didn't even realize that. Okay, there you go. So the
I
Eagles.
think
Eagles Bucks is the only game that is doesn't, and I'm sure there's a connection there, but I don't know what it is.
Oof.
I
see the play of the week already. All right, I can't wait till we're picking these. I think
okay.
This is where the separation happens.
Yeah. So that Texans Colts game. I mean, look, I couldn't be happier for CJ Stroud. I have said repeatedly this season from the very beginning that I thought Carolina made a mistake passing on CJ Stroud, that Bryce Young was a mistake, Stroud was the better quarterback. And he has borne that out all year. Well, I shouldn't say all year. It took him a couple weeks, but then he started to bear that out.
Their defense did get exposed. Like Houston's defense got exposed a little in the running game.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the Colts ran all over them. That was crazy. Considering that, that the running defense was their strength. And I'll tell you, I love Will Anderson. I mean, Will Anderson Jr. Is what a great pick. I mean, to get CJ Stroud and Anderson, I wasn't sure about Will Anderson. I mean, he obviously was talented, but like, I wasn't sure about that pick because it just was like so many needs. Is this the right thing? That guy, what a great pick. I mean, like, good job, D'Amico Ryans. Good job, Houston Texans. Very impressive. They're going to be a team to contend with for many years to come. Yep. And all of this because they dumped Deshaun Watson. They are right back in it. Just that. I mean, honestly, just that bet. One year. Well, 2 years after dumping him, they're right back in the playoffs.
So, what do you think's going to happen if? So let's say Flacco wants to stay around and be Cleveland's quarterback. What do you think's going to happen there?
I think Cleveland would consider bringing him back for sure, if even not for the backup. And why? You've already got to pay Deshaun. It's guaranteed. So it's like, why hurt the franchise on top of that? And you get Flacco to take a lower salary because he probably will right now at this because of the big fat one he got from us. But like the contracts, he doesn't need the money anymore. He's playing just to keep playing. And why wouldn't you?
Would you, as an owner, are you going to pay your backup quarterback?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Lots of people.
Not a truckload, but definitely pay him and definitely retain him.
I mean, being that I'm saying a $200 million contract to the guy that's going to be on the bench.
You sign him for a year for a couple $1 million.
No, he's talking about Deshaun. Do you start him over Deshaun having that much money?
I don't think you should start him over Deshaun. I think you could go into training camp with an open competition, though.
Well, I'm saying because Flacco's not coming back to be a backup. I don't think after this. I would imagine.
I don't think Flacco cares. I think he's like, he's really keep playing. I'll play ball. I'm just happy to play ball.
Yeah, I think he'd be fine. And I think if you're the Browns, you go, we've got a guy we know can step in and win games. So we'll see how this Deshaun Watson experiment continues.
And the thing we also don't know about Deshaun's contract is there's always something. There's clauses in those things, right? Whether it's an injury clause, it's usually not an injury clause when it's fully guaranteed, obviously, but there could be a morality clause. There could be other things that come into play. Or if you have a career-ending injury, maybe that becomes a different stipulation. without knowing the details of the contract.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can find a way out of it if they need to. Well, maybe not out of
Or
it,
they just
but
restructure it.
look at what everybody's talking about Denver maybe doing. Like
Yeah, restructure it and get out.
they may go, it is what it is. We're going to eat the costs for however long we need to.
Yeah.
That way we move forward with something better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that because, again, Flacco is like 38, so he's not your long-term answer. You have to hope Deshaun's the long-term answer. But I could see them giving him a couple $1 million to push him in training camp, to have that threat behind
And he's a
him.
great backup to have either way.
Yeah, I mean,
No doubt. No doubt.
So yeah, I mean, I could see that. And I heard Kirk Cousins the other day was saying, hey, look, at this point in my career, making money is not the only thing that I'm concerned about. So I'd be basically suggesting he would take a hometown discount to stay in Minnesota.
Right.
And I mean, part of that is good politics to say that because you get signed. You don't have to move your house. You don't have to move.
Even if you don't re-sign with Minnesota, you're also signaling, I want to sign with that team that's ready and all they're needing is a quarterback.
Yeah.
That team that is on the cusp, right?
Don't be afraid to make me an offer, right, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't think I'll reject it necessarily.
That division, by the way, I mean, I've been looking at that division pretty closely, and I know I've given a lot of hate to Jordan Love over the season a little bit, but even still, you guys are right about this. He is still acting as though he's still a rookie. So let's give it a little bit more time. See, the Packers loaded with wide receivers. Their running backs are a little suspect and they need help on the line. But the defense has been good this year before injuries started to hit them. The Lions are already a good team. The Bears we talked about last time, they're a couple of pieces away from being that team if they hold on to Fields, I think. But and the Vikings are there too. That could be a really nasty division next season if those teams make the right moves.
Excuse me. Yeah, they could very well be the AFC North of the NFC.
Right.
Wait, they're the NFC North. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's
I like
sorry.
your better.
I just wanted to say one other thing about the Texans Colts before moving on. Just like I have to say my heart broke a little bit for Gardner Minshew.
Sure.
Who played a pretty good game, wasn't asked to do a lot because the run game was so good. And then that pass, first off, I thought it was a terrible call. I mean, I know it would have been the right call, would have worked, but to send in a guy who in Goodson or Goodall or whatever that guy's name was, who's caught like 4 passes all season, to be the guy to catch that 4th down pass, to me was like, I mean, yes, I get it. He was open. It was a good call. It worked. But you could have just as easily used another guy a little bit more comfortable catching the ball out of the backfield to do that. And yeah, Minshew threw it a little too far inside. But most
that catch. You got to make that catch, though.
I mean,
it hit him right in the hands.
I mean, well, it did. But he was running this way and had to turn to make the catch. I do understand that. But again, a guy who's caught more than 4 passes all year maybe makes that catch.
Sure. I'm not disputing any of that's not wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying that player, and he feels horrible about it, but it
was a bad pass. I mean, it was a bad pass.
It was a bad pass, but it was Tom Brady has had worse passes that got caught.
Yes.
By lesser receivers.
And that was I guess to me, I thought why aren't you using Zach Moss there? Why aren't you, I mean, I understand not using, no.
Zach Moss was hurt on Sunday, on Saturday.
Oh, I somehow
he didn't play.
Yeah, because
he got hurt in the game is what it was. I'm sorry. He got hurt in the game.
Because, I mean, I understand not using Jonathan Taylor because you're going to 100% have a spy on him. But, surely, you've got Mo Alley Cox or, you've got a tight end, somebody, you could line any number of people up back there. Yep. And it seems to me that ball and that's a first down, and who knows how that game ends.
Who's the running back that they used earlier in the year that kicked the extra point because their guy got hurt? Why don't you bring him in and let him have another glory moment, right? Sure. And now you got a folklore that starts to surround this guy. Oh, when he comes on, he's leaving big plays.
Yeah, I did. My point, my heart really broke for the Colts. I thought that was a great game. and maybe the best all weekend. Just in terms of the back and forth and the drama of it all, might have been the best game. Anyway,
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to throw that out there. All right, so the Jaguars, good God, talk about a team shitting the bed. They won 1 of their last 6 games. They needed to win 2.
Nope,
That-
not gonna have him. They couldn't
I
do it.
mean,
Couldn't do it.
how does Doug Peterson not on the hot seat right now?
Right?
Like I know they've had some injuries, but at the same time, like they weren't injured on this game. They were missing Zay Jones, right?
Yeah.
Like, did Christian Kirk play? I don't remember if he played or not, but he was questionable coming into the game.
I thought he played, but I wasn't able to watch that game because it was I'm looking, I don't see, he didn't have a catch, so maybe not.
So I mean, they're a little banged up, but they're a better team than Tennessee. And for the division, for the playoffs, you can't lose that game.
They could not stop the beast.
No,
I know.
anybody.
It's
So
unbelievable. I thought his wheels were flat. Derrick Henry.
I mean, he's had a good season. I mean,
I know, but
he's
when I
not
watch
what
him, I'm like,
I mean,
man,
obviously he is not what he used to be, of course. But man,
Right.
I mean,
that was a
another
hell of
Well,
a game.
And he was playing, well, let's be honest, he was playing with all the motivation in the world. He did a speech after the game to the crowd. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but like,
No,
when does a player ever give a speech to the crowd, on the microphone? Like, he knows his time in Tennessee is done.
yeah,
He
Yeah,
is
yeah,
going
no
somewhere
question,
else
no
next
question.
year, and so he was playing for those fans and for his last game in Tennessee.
Sure, he did have a pretty good season.
Yeah,
now that I
another
look at the
1,000-yard
He
numbers.
did.
season. He averaged a little over 4 yards a carry again. I mean,
I
it's
think
lower
what
than what
happened
he
was
usually does, but
it
still, it
was
was a good season.
up and down. I think that's what the problem. What I was seeing was his games were because if you look at his numbers, it's like a great game and then a dud.
You
I
know
don't know
where
if
he
he
needs
was.
to go.
I don't know if he was hurt, but oof.
A lot of that has to do with game flow. You get
No, you're
behind a
right.
couple of scores, and it's like, all right, well, you got to
And no
occasionally run the
passing
ball to
game
keep
at
it
all.
honest. Huh?
No passing game at all to support
Well,
it.
no passing game to
But you
support it, but
see,
also like, well, Will Levis, just throwing the ball
Mhm.
around, but
Okay,
yeah, when you fall
Stud.
back,
threatening
I
passing
mean,
game.
there were a lot of games where Henry only had like 12 or 13 carries, and you go,
yes,
well, and you look back and you look at games, it's like, oh, they fell behind, and so
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the passing game is anemic, but they threw the ball anyway, and
Yeah.
he'd get a couple of carries just to keep them honest or whatever, but like on obvious running downs and things like that, I mean, and so yeah, he gets 12 carries for 50 yards or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, of course, because they
I
shut him
mean
down
it's
early.
very, very comparable to his other seasons. He
Yeah,
had that one outlier where he had a 2,000-yard season, but
Mhm.
Right.
other than
It's
that, I mean
interesting.
they're all pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that, but I
So
was thinking about
where do you
Tennessee
think he
just
should
now. Where
go?
you
I know
guys,
where I think he should go. Where do you think he should go? Oh, sorry.
he should. I was just going to say the thing about Tennessee. I'll tell you in just a second.
Okay.
The thing I was going to say real quick that I'm looking at like the Vrabel firing in Tennessee and seeing that they're 6-11, knowing that last year they were in the last couple of years they've been really in the playoffs or on the cusp of it,
Yeah.
like a better team. Like this is kind of a surprising outcome for this year.
2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like I guess I'm not surprised, except for the fact that the team's always like it seems more like a talent problem than it does a coaching problem. Like he's squeezing as much juice out of that orange as he can get.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not the GM,
Right.
like it feels like he's being scapegoated a little bit.
But what's the GM going to
Mhm.
do? Fire
Yep.
himself? Be like, man, I did a lousy job
Oh,
putting
but
this team together.
that's where the ownership the owner has to
Hey.
step in.
Yeah, but you usually that's how these things go, though. The GM gets an opportunity.
And the GM will probably be next anyway, right? They'll be the one that he'll get Lego next. But
Next season, yeah, or this season. But like that's yeah, I was surprised by Vrabel because I mean I think he has proven himself to be a good coach and but whatever. Big game to beat the Jags and knock them out of the playoffs. I mean, good playing
course.
spoiler.
Good way to get fired.
Derrick Henry, where's he going?
Cowboys.
Interesting. I mean that is exactly what Jerry Jones likes to do. But
that compliment to Tony Pollard is exactly what they're missing right now.
You don't think they're going to cut Tony Pollard? I think they might.
Why?
Because I think that I think they've become disenchanted with him
Maybe.
because they don't know how to use him. And so that's his fault.
But
That's
I
what I
see
think.
that. Maybe. I don't.
And they like that guy.
Dowdy?
Who's his yeah, they like him.
Yeah, but
They've used
he's
him.
not
I know.
any. He's the Tony Pollard to Ezekiel Elliott.
Yes.
It's the same guy.
Yes. And that's what they get enamored with.
Now I could see them trading Tony Pollard for like figuring out a way to basically bring a new piece in that is more of the thunder to the lightning, right? Like with Dowdy, and then trying to turn Pollard into picks. I could see that being a thing, but I don't think they're going to cut it.
Yeah, because
Like I don't think you cut Tony Pollard.
we signed a 1-year contract.
Well, then he's not going to resign, or
For-
they're not going to
hold
sign
on.
him, or something.
He signed a 1-year contract for 10.9 million. So
Yeah, he'll be somewhere else if they. I mean, obviously, so they're not
yes.
cutting him. They're just, man, that's a mistake on their part, though.
He's 10.9. Well, 10 million, 10,091,000. Yeah, he basically got the same contract that Saquon got. Which is, insane. They're not going to keep him because he's not going to take a pay cut. Not
No,
from
but they might have
from them.
they might have an eye on a guy like Dalvin Cook.
Maybe I think this might be a tryout for Dalvin Cook for the Ravens. Because
Instead, because we're not going to re-sign
Dobbins is. I mean,
Dobbins
I
anymore.
love Dobbins, but he hasn't stayed healthy a single season.
I
So-
hope they keep him and he comes back good.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what I said every year.
He's not.
I
We're not going to
actually-
give him the money he wants.
No,
I actually like Mitchell. I like Mitchell better.
yeah, I like Heaton, but he's not. I don't think he's a
He's
number
not a
one.
every down.
He's
No, he's not a number one.
he's
Great
a
compliment.
great guy to throw in there as a compliment, and
Yeah.
it's nice to have Gus in short yardage situations. But Dalvin Cook feels like I mean he's 28.
I could see it.
He's probably got 2 more years. You could sign him to a short contract, 2-year contract at the end of the season, and you could probably squeeze 2 really good years out of him. Certainly 1 good year out of him, and then draft a guy. But Pollard, I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think Pollard's gone. Derrick
I
Henry
think it
to the
depends on
Cowboys.
what happens in the playoffs too, right? Like if they figure out how to use him and he shows out, obviously he's going to get a long-term deal. But if it's more of what we saw during the season, you're probably right.
I mean, now, Derrick Henry to the Cowboys is an interesting move. I was thinking about Derrick Henry to the Bears.
Yeah, that works too.
They've got
That's
what's
one
the
of the
guy's name?
pieces they're
Roshan.
missing.
They've got Roshan Johnson, who I like. I mean, he's shown flashes, but he's obviously a development guy. He needs to develop some.
He
But
seems like Gus Edwards to me.
Roshan,
He's not really the guy you want,
right?
But if you have to lean into him, you will.
Well, I mean, the guy. One thing we know for sure is Khalil Herbert is not the guy. Khalil Herbert.
No, he's Justice Hill.
Yes, Khalil Herbert is.
Right? It's like
yes.
They're missing Dobbins.
I think I think the mistake they made was letting Tariq Cohen go because Tariq Cohen was Justice Hill, and Khalil, he went
Where
to
did Tariq go?
Panthers.
Yeah, that's why we didn't hear anything about him.
Yeah, he's behind Miles Sanders on the depth chart there.
And they're all behind Chuba Hubbard.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, Khalil Herbert. Wow. I mean, not that he's not. I mean, he's a useful piece, but I could see Derrick Henry in a Bears uniform for 2 years as a. I mean, as a guy, they'd give him 15, 18 carries a game. I think they'd give him 15 to 18 carries a game as Deontay Foreman, but better. A more effective Deontay Foreman because he worked for the Bears, but I mean he worked for the Bears, but he is not like Henry still has the ability to break off a run. And Deontay Foreman has never had the ability to break off a run. That's never been his game. That's just not who he has ever been. Which is why he bounces around team to team because it's like everybody loves to have a guy that can fall into the end zone like he can.
Minnesota's not a bad location for him either.
Yeah, Ty Chandler's really solidified that job, though, hasn't he? Madison's so bad all year, but man, Chandler's looked pretty good.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
it's a position right for the taking right now. And
Yeah,
they've
agreed.
already got all the talent everywhere else. And if Cousins is going to give you a discount,
Yeah.
there you go. You've got like 1 to 2 years with those two guys
And then Mike can
to
make
Super
his
Bowl.
pick
make a
next.
swing.
Mike can make
Super
his
Bowl,
Vikings pick
baby.
next year. Yeah.
Damn right. If that happens, I'm riding that train again.
Of course.
Yeah, worked out well for you this year. You should do it twice. Yeah, no,
We'll
Derek,
get to that. I have all of this highlighted based on what we got right and within one game. So
all right, let's see. Vikings and Lions, nothing to really talk about there. That game exactly as you expected it to go.
yeah,
Although it's
yeah.
closer than I thought, it would be, but just because the Vikings have no quarterback, it's really awful. The Saints. How about the
And
Saints?
I don't, yeah, they are the Buffalo Bills of the NFC. Like they're the most Jekyll and Hyde team out there.
Yeah.
But man, they put their foot on the gas against this is why Arthur Blank got fired. Like that out,
Smith.
like because
Arthur Blank owns the team. Yeah.
Thank
He's
you.
not getting
Yes,
fired.
that's who I meant is Arthur.
He ain't no other firing
same,
that guy.
same old white guy. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's interesting because Atlanta actually had a reason to play in that game. They had a chance at winning the division. Like they needed a little bit of help. Like I think Tampa had to lose, and I think and New Orleans both had to lose. But man, obviously because they're playing. But it's like for them to show up like that, like
Sure.
that's crazy.
I have a question about the Saints, though. Did you see the late touchdown?
Oh, I saw the whole
No.
thing at the end. I wasn't watching it that close. I just kind of saw the fallout around it.
It's an interesting thing. I was watching. Well, I had it on. I don't want to say I was watching. I was kind of like in and out of the room, and I'm listening. And when I heard the Saints score, I heard him say Saints scored. I was like, wait, what? Like the game was over.
Right,
What is
with
going on?
3 seconds left, right, or something like
And
that.
I guess it turns out like the players like overrode the coach's call. Like
No
Oh,
way.
really?
yeah, they
Oh, I
overrode.
didn't hear
They
that.
overrode the call to punch one in.
I
I
So,
would
love
be
it.
surprised. I would be surprised if it's tied to bonus. Like they
but it was
needed that
Jamal. It was
extra,
Jamal Williams. It wasn't like Kamara. I mean, maybe, but you would
but
think
maybe
that
it
would be in
was.
there.
But maybe he's got his own little thing. Like you have to have 7 touchdowns on the year or something like that total. And like
Maybe he
all of
started
these,
himself in fantasy that day.
yeah, that's
I love it.
I like
love
my
it.
version better. Because who's playing fantasy in week 18? Let's be honest. People who don't know what they're doing.
Jamal had a 10-player parlay, and one of them was
Right.
him scoring a touchdown. He's like, guys,
There you go. I'll
I'm
buy
gonna win
that one.
28
That one
grand if I
works.
score a touchdown.
Now that I didn't hear about that. That's kind of interesting.
I
That
love it.
explains
It's
the
great.
reaction you saw on the field too, because like when the guy comes up and he goes, "What the hell is that?" or whatever, and you don't see what Dennis Allen says, but he's like, "Oh, whatever, yeah, whatever." Like
Yeah,
his
yeah.
reaction was like he didn't buy it, right? And that's very interesting. I hadn't heard that piece.
So it says here, Winston said the Saints players all decided collectively before the play that they were not going to they're not going to run the kneel down that was called, but to give the ball to Williams instead. Williams said he apologized to Allen for not running the play he was told to run, but he and his teammates wanted to honor Williams for the selfless contributions. So sorry, the teammates all wanted to honor Jamal Williams for the selfless contributions he's made to the team all season as a backup running back who has not like been able to do
Right.
much. Yeah. So that basically they were saying like this was basically not really a bonus, but more like a player's award. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool though, because I bet you it's I would bet it's because he comes in on a lot of passing downs and is probably a heavy blocker for
Yeah.
Carr as opposed to actually getting any kind of running. But
and he's a good running back.
Isn't this just the positive version of them paying for penalties and or turnovers and stuff like that? Like,
sure.
where's Goodell? Is he going to step in here and punish the coach like he did Sean Payton? I mean,
we'll see. I can't imagine. But
I mean, no one did anything wrong here.
I mean, it's hard to punish a team because they decided to score an extra touchdown. I mean, it's but yeah, I did get a little kick out of it. Like, I mean, hey, look, I'm fine with that. It's a rivalry game. The Falcons have a little extra chip on their shoulder next year when they play the Saints. None of us will remember that, and we'll all pick the Saints next year, and the Falcons are going to come in and stomp them. Be like, where'd that come from? Oh yeah, we forgot. Like they're going to come in and hang 70 on them out of nowhere or something.
Did you
And
see
it's all
the translation, the transcription of Art Smith? He's like, "You son of a bitch! You just cost me my job." Like that's probably what he was saying, or
Right,
something like
right.
that.
I'm surprised you could hear anything he said with the silver spoon in his mouth, but that's all right. Anyway, sorry. Jets Patriots, nothing to say there.
No.
Just
Other than I'm stunned at how I know it was snowy and stuff, but just how bad that. But that's that Jets team we talked about earlier in the season. Their defense that sometimes just disappeared, and then other times when it shows up, it's the best defense in the league.
well, that defense is great so long as the offense can spend any time on the field. I mean, and that's really what it boiled down to. Is that like when
No
they're
helps.
when they're doing 3 and outs all day, that defense is beatable. It's it's not mediocre or anything, but like it's certainly beatable. But between Quinn and Williams, C.J. Mosley,
Right.
and Sauce Gardner, you've got a stud at 3 levels of that defense.
For
I mean,
sure.
there is incredible talent at all 3 levels, and I mean, and I'm just naming just 3 guys, but like
For sure.
because those 3 guys are the 3 guys. But man, the Jets are they are a scary team next year.
And
with
they're gonna
with a
they'll
competition.
Especially
have
when Rodgers
Rodgers.
back.
They'll have Rodgers back. Yep.
Oh, and I
did you-
love the whole thing. Just I want to say this really quick. I love the whole thing where Rodgers like, well, I could have played. I was clear to play. Like, no. If you like,
At
you
the
didn't
end of the
practice.
season.
You didn't do, huh?
At the end of the season, he could have played. He did. He chose not to come back
That's
because they
what
were
they
out of
say.
the playoffs.
That's what they say, but that's just because early on he said, I'm going to be healthy in time for the end of the season. I don't think it's true.
But he was
I mean,
practicing
huh?
until they got knocked out. He was practicing. He
I think he
stopped
could have come
practicing
back.
once they
He
got
was
knocked out.
He's Superman, dude.
he was not practicing. He was light
He's Aaron
practicing.
Rodgers.
They were. I mean, he was like, oh, look at me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to take a drop
If they
back and
win
throw a
that
ball.
division, he's playing.
Yep.
The last 2
No
games of the
question.
season, if they're leading the division at that time.
I mean, sure, maybe. I mean,
Did you see the fun thing with Garrett Wilson this week, where he's changed his number already? So
No.
he's changed it to like number 8 instead of 17, and all the theory is that he's bringing it up for Devontae Adams.
oh, interesting. Yeah,
That's a nasty duo. Those 2 together.
I mean, that would be pretty impressive. Yeah, no, the Jets are dangerous next year. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, that's for sure.
Agreed.
I mean, if he's healthy and everybody's healthy, it's a good defense. It'll be a good offense.
It looked like a scary team coming into the season. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And that's even without like when you look at it, like Brees Hall and Wilson, that's their weapons. Give them another
and we
year
weren't honestly sure what Brees Hall was going to be.
Right.
I mean,
but they had Dalvin at the time, so I mean, they looked like they were going to be set up just fine.
Yep. Bucks Panthers. I have to say, Buccaneers with a 9-0 win stumble into the playoffs, but hey, they get the win on the road. What do you want? Browns Bengals. That's a nothing game.
Yeah. Who cares?
Packers Bears. Jordan Love looked all right. Like you said, they have good receivers. The Bears. I thought Justin Fields certainly hurt his case to stay in Chicago. Now, granted, look, I'm not going to blame the guy. The guy has the worst. The offensive line has the worst sack rate in the NFL for like the last 3 years. I mean, as bad as some other teams we've seen, nobody's been sacked more than Justin Fields through the last 3 years, which is hard to imagine because we've seen
that is crazy.
Yeah, because we've seen Sam Howell spend the vast majority of an afternoon on his ass.
Well,
but
most people don't make it. Most people are out. Someone else is playing. That guy's been, I guess, in there getting his ass whooped for three good solid years.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
The only thing I'd say, I mean, he only threw the ball 16 times. Like, so I don't know what happened to this game to cause.
He had no time. I watched that game.
I know that, but it's like, but he also only rushed for 8 for 27. So that means he's only really
sacked. He got sacked like 5 times.
But he's only involved in 24 plays. Okay, so that's now 30 plays. what happened? Where's the rest? Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's only 17 more plays. They didn't have a lot of offensive
No, they
opportunity
had
to get
a
rhythm.
they considering it was a rivalry game, and some people would argue Bears Packers is the rivalry game. I mean, well,
Not a normal
I would say
week.
anybody that grew up between outside of Ohio, anybody that grew up in the Midwest would say Packers Bears is probably the rivalry game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Packers Bears,
anybody
the
in the
oldest.
Midwest.
Noticed.
Now that said, the Bears went in there, it seemed to me, with a game plan to not get hurt. They're not going to go. They're not like to stay healthy. They had a
And the
relatively
Packers had to win. Yeah.
and the Packers had to win. And I mean, the Bears defense played well. They got burned a couple times, but like played pretty well. I mean, again, I think I will see. I feel like there's just a better than zero chance that they get rid of Justin Fields just because of the. I mean, again, you made a compelling argument last week.
By the way, that's really profound.
better than zero. I agree. There is a better than zero. I'm with you.
I think it's better than 50-50. It's better than 50-50.
I disagree with that, but definitely better than zero.
I might be wrong. I mean, Fields may have played himself back into a job, but and you make a compelling case that if the Bears could trade back 2 spots to Washington.
It's New England that's at 3rd now. Washington's 2.
Oh, okay. If they could trade 2 back to New England,
same problem. They both need quarterbacks.
Well, if they can trade even if they trade 1 back to Washington in order to get something for that number 1 overall pick, they can trade 1 slot back. Or I don't know who else needs a quarterback. Somebody else wants to trade up. If they can, but I mean, the thing is to stay in the top 5, so they might have a shot at Marvin Harrison. Because I think outside of the top 3, they're not going to get him. So if they could move back even 1 slot or to the Patriots, I mean, either way, and get Marvin Harrison, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. To keep Justin Fields in that scenario makes a lot of sense. If they
more have a great connection already too.
But if they are compelled to stay in that 1 slot or move so far back that they are probably not going to get Marvin Harrison, and I have a hard time imagining Harrison going beyond 5. I mean, I have a hard time imagining him going behind 3. Won't. But like, let's just say you roll the dice and think you might be able to get him at 5. I don't know how, but maybe. Just maybe the dice fall that way. Beyond that, though, I can't. If you can't get Harrison, but you can get a lot of draft capital, then I don't know. I just keep feeling like if you're stuck in that number 1 slot and you can't really move it for anything, and still get the best receiver in football. I mean, in college football. Then I don't know why you wouldn't take Caleb Williams. I just don't. I mean, I feel like the opportunity I mean, why not take Caleb Williams and get something for Justin Fields? I mean, you can trade him for more draft capital.
But and I think that's the thing for me is you have an unproven commodity versus someone who I still think has a ceiling higher than we've seen. Right. I'm not going to put him in the Lamar category, but he's got a higher ceiling than what we've seen thus far because he's never really had those pieces around him until they traded for DJ Moore. Like that's the first time he's ever had a legitimate player in that. So you have this unproven player.
Sure.
You trade Justin Fields, take him. You have an unproven now quarterback. And what are you getting for Justin Fields? If you're really lucky, you're getting a 2nd round pick. But more than likely, now you're back in the 3rd round with maybe a 4th round next year. That kind of package, you're probably not going to, and I don't know how they weigh all this stuff out, but it's not going to be a 1st rounder is more my point. And so you've got pieces, but they're not the pieces you're looking for by moving back 1 spot. You don't really care about the draft capital because you got the quarterback. You can get more draft capital still by doing that because for you moving back, you're not just going to go, okay, sure, we can swap. You're getting something in return for that.
Sure.
So, and you're probably getting like a 6th rounder or a 5th rounder. You're getting however much they value or think the team behind them is going to threaten coming up and taking it. In New England, we've all seen they absolutely need a quarterback.
Right.
Washington, to me, I think there's Sam Howell ran out of steam towards the end of the year, but with the right scheme, right system, and a better offensive line, we all said it. Like he was performing really well in that offense this year for a while until towards the end of the season. I still think they should keep him. Whether they do or not, we'll see. But I think they should keep him.
I think that if I were Washington, I'd be more inclined to keep Sam Howell if I didn't have an opportunity at Caleb Williams or Bo Nix. So, because you look at Sam Howell and you go, okay, what is the ceiling on this guy? And you look at Caleb Williams or Bo Nix and you go, what's the ceiling on these guys?
It also depends on the head coach.
Or not Bo Nix. What's the other guy? What's the other guy?
You're not talking McCarthy, are you?
Hold on. I can't believe I can't think of his Drake May.
Nix is
Drake May.
Oh, right.
So or Bo Nix. I mean, I think Bo Nix is another, but he's going to fall later in the first round. But yeah, if you have an opportunity to get a guy like Drake May or Caleb Williams, who both seem like, really, I mean, extraordinarily good. They both look like great prospects. I mean, like really great prospects. In the way that, I mean, honestly, in a way that even like CJ Stroud didn't look last year. I mean, they look like the sort of prospects that Trevor Lawrence looked like coming out. And again, say what you will, but like from a prospect, and Lawrence is a good quarterback. It just, something is wrong there. Something is wrong with that team. I can't figure it out. He fumbles too much. He did that in college. That's a known flaw. They should have, they know that coming in. But anyway, whatever. This is, I mean, those top three quarterbacks, and then Jaden Daniels too, like top four quarterbacks, all look pretty exceptionally good. And the top two look like sure things. Obviously, that's always the way it is.
But what is the sure thing, right? Is the sure thing the
Sam
Josh
Howell?
Rosen, the Sam Bradford, the Josh Rosen, Sam Howell, the guys that never really, or is it the Andrew Luck, who, by the way, only played for 5 years?
I know.
And I'm just saying, and he was the most touted prospect that I ever remember coming out, and he was good, no question.
Yeah.
And I do think it was more of a personal choice out of him. He's like, I'm not sacrificing the rest of my life for this.
Yeah.
I've got enough money. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, but there's a litany of these guys that have come out that have been. Robert Griffin was that guy. Like he was, and he had some exciting moments. Kyler Murray's that guy. Justin Fields is that guy. If we want to go that far with it, how many of these guys that have been these picks, and they're not quite the guy that you expect.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Every year we have guys that come out as the top quarterback prospects, of course. But there are some guys that you look at and you go, this guy looks pro ready. This guy looks ready. And you don't have that every year. Usually you end up hyping guys because how else are you going to get people to pay attention to the draft?
Yeah.
But like the year when Lamar came out, you had Baker, who I mean was one of the
cake maker.
But Baker was like, there were some obvious flaws there where you go, I'm not really sure that he looks like a number one overall pick. He's too small.
No.
He's got talent. But when you looked at like Josh Allen, yeah, for sure.
Right.
He looked like the real deal.
Yeah, but he was even not that praised that much because he only played for Wyoming. Like he was never given that same level of credit.
He went third, didn't he?
Something like, yeah, but that's why he didn't go one. That was the kind of talk on who he was. And it was the perfect fit for Buffalo too. Let's be honest. This blue collar guy that just goes to a blue collar team, it was meant to be.
I mean, granted, Josh Rosen went that same year, went 10 or whatever. Right. But who else went? There was another. Who was the fifth one? It was Lamar, and then who was the fifth one? It was Rosen. It was Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and who was the fifth one?
There is another, and I don't remember who it is.
Was that 2018? Let's see. Sorry, I need to know now.
Yeah, it's 2018.
And then we need
five quarterbacks were selected.
Oh, Sam Darnold. Josh Allen went seventh. Yeah, Sam Darnold. But
two of those have made it.
I mean,
that's my point. Is 40% is the success rate on that, and Don't get me wrong.
Baker's okay. Baker's an NFL quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not worthy of #1 overall is the point. And
Nope.
Caleb Williams, I would probably agree with you on him.
Yeah.
Like, he's got all the signs that point to being that guy. It's still a what if, no matter
Sure.
what. You're talking
Sure,
about a
sure.
40% success rate. And I know that's one snippet. It's not the entirety, but I bet if you do it to the entirety, that's probably more close to the average, right? Where you've got guys like Darnold is a great backup in the league still, and Rosen does not exist. But so you've got one guy, you got 20% who's not even playing 6 years later or whatever it ended up being. And then, you got 20%, 40% that's a backup. Or really, because Baker isn't, he's not a top 10 or top 15 guy.
Can I, and then let's move on to some other games, but I just out of curiosity, what happened with Josh Rosen? Like, I know, the Cardinals after 1 year were like, okay, we're done with this guy. And they sent him to Miami.
Is that where he went? I was like, I don't even know where
I thought he went to Miami.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
so.
What?
Yeah, he did.
He went from Arizona to Miami to Tampa to San Francisco to Atlanta to Cleveland and then to Minnesota.
I mean,
And December of 22 is when he was signed to the practice squad in Minnesota.
But see, no, the thing with him is that is amazing to me. It's like, this is a guy that was rated as a first round, talent.
Mhm.
And it is remarkable to me that after his first season in Arizona, that nobody was willing to say, like, let's develop this guy.
Agreed.
I mean,
he didn't
granted,
look that bad. He just looked like he needed development.
yeah. And then he went to Miami to back up Tua, and it was like, well, but then I don't know. I mean, there are stories like that I always wonder about. Like, there are guys that you go, okay, I see what happened there.
Right.
What was the guy when Peyton Manning came out, the one that went two?
Ryan Leaf.
Ryan Leaf.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I get it. Ryan Leaf had a head full of bad marbles. Like, I mean, I get it. He had psych problems that we're not that obviously we're not coachable. He had some issues that were hard to, like, whatever, that were not like they were not physical problems, but he just made bad decisions, and made bad decisions on and off the field. He was not like a good guy, or not. I shouldn't say that. Like, he wasn't going to work out. I get it. And he still kicked around for a few years. He went to the Cowboys and whatnot. I mean, I remember, but like, I don't know. It seems to me that a lot of times, if you're going to spend the draft capital, your first round pick on a guy, find the Cardinals. I think part of it is the Cardinals abandoning him after 1 year, and then going.
Mhm.
I think it taints you in a way that is hard to recover from. Jamarcus Russell was that kind of guy, except Jamarcus Russell had a problem. He couldn't stop eating.
Scissor.
Yeah. He couldn't stop eating.
Purple drink. Purple
drink. Get that drink out.
Yeah.
The drink.
I mean, and also Jamarcus Russell was a guy who, like, played okay and then had an amazing college championship game, and then he shot up everybody's draft list. It was like he had one great game in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, he's the guy. It was like, wait, this guy was not on anybody's list as a #1 pick until he won a national championship. And so anyway, whatever. I'm good.
The only thing I would say is there's been 7 teams that have evaluated him, and for him not to, I don't even think he's signed anywhere right now. That tells you, I mean, 1 or 2 getting it wrong, that's fine, but 7 teams going, nah, you're on the practice squad. We'll pass.
But that's my point. If a guy like Trevor Siemian, has a job as a third string quarterback who ends up playing in the NFL, you go, Josh Rosen certainly looked more talented than that.
Well, you know what the thing is, physically they are, but some of them just can't mentally hack it. Some of these guys they're not as physically gifted, but they can read a playbook and they can kind of get in there, and
they can be useful calling the plays in and sending in signals. And you're right. You got to be useful if you're not useful. I mean, seriously, like, if you're not in there as a starter, you have to be useful in other ways. And so, I'm with you. All right, let's move on. Cowboys, Commanders. Well, boy, we all picked that game wrong. Just because it seemed like it wouldn't be such a blowout, but
That was really just it. Yeah, I thought the Cowboys would win, but not like that.
Yeah.
They looked like they wanted to stay like in rhythm going in, is what it looked like.
Yep.
The
Interesting game coming up.
Pirates and Ponies went exactly as I kind of think we all kind of picked. Pirates,
Yep.
they played for Antonio Pierce's job. I hope he keeps it. But then
Yeah.
Giants, Eagles.
Wow.
The
I mean,
Gents, baby.
gee, like their defense has been. I don't know if that's a bigger statement about the Giants or a bigger statement about the Eagles right now.
Eagles.
Well,
Eagles.
did you see Jason Kelsey talking after the game?
No.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish because I had a couple of thoughts on that too.
The Eagles are all in their feels, man.
Yeah, no
They're
doubt.
all in
No
their
doubt.
feels.
I bet you
And
they're fighting.
They've got a lot. Like they're not doing great right now. I mean, I was gonna say AJ Brown went down, which doesn't help. Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger, but they
Yeah.
didn't look good before that happened.
No, they
So
were getting
there's
smoked.
something wrong in the psyche of that team at the moment. I just wonder if it's when they got beat down
Yeah.
by San Francisco, like they
Hey,
had a thing going where they were just eking it out, and that may be sitting in the back of their mind. And then when they get crushed by a good team,
mhm.
like did that come to the forefront?
we talked about it with the Lions when the Ravens annihilated them. That they took
Yeah.
several weeks to come back and start playing good football again.
Yep.
You know,
So
Broncos after
what's
Miami, same thing. Yeah.
yep.
what's
You know,
Hurts' status here?
huh?
What's Hurts'
Um,
status right now?
it's fine. There's no serious damage. I don't know if he's playing or I think he's
Is
planning to
AJ
play.
Brown going to be back?
That I don't know about. I remember seeing the news on Hertz, but
Let's see here.
hopeful about having Brown against Tampa this week.
Okay,
So
hopeful.
he's day to day, basically.
Okay.
Nobody, yeah, AC. It was suspected possible ACL injury,
And then it
but
wasn't.
it
I
was
saw
it
this.
was
I
fine.
saw things at best case scenario for AJ Brown, but
Yeah,
it wasn't anything serious. But whether he's healthy
without
or not,
him, without him, they're done.
I know.
With him,
Who
they probably
knows?
get past Tampa, but not. I'm not sure how much further. But the way they've
Have
been
you
playing lately.
have you seen the Bucks defense? They shut out the Panthers.
Yeah.
Ooh, settle down. And they
Um,
put up 9 points on that same vaunted Panther defense. So
that's what's really embarrassing was just oof bad.
I don't know what happened on that game. Were you having bad weather then too? Like,
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing, I have to say. For the I thought for the Bucks, but I mean the Panthers defense has played okay all year. They just haven't they've just again been on the field too long, and so they've been
right,
exposed. But they haven't been great. They've been, a decent defense.
serviceable, yes.
Yeah, serviceable. Sort of so you probably rank them, number 14 or 15 or something. You know what I mean? Somewhere there. Right in the middle. Good enough. But yeah, I have real concerns about the Eagles moving forward. What is that?
I do too.
Watermelon.
No.
That's a big old water. Oh
Yeah.
my gravy.
Um, the
Gotta hydrate, boys.
yeah, no doubt.
It's like 64 ounces or something
I
like
thought I
that.
thought I thought maybe you had become joined this the weird Stanley cult that all the ladies
Oh
are joining.
God.
Right. Hold on, I'll hold it. There's that one. Hey guys, I got my drink.
Hmm.
I need my straw though in order to do it.
Do you not know you don't know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay.
That's why I was mimicking the whole
Oh
because
yes,
there's
yes.
all kinds of reels and
You gotta have all
things
the
about it.
you gotta have all the
Yeah.
accessories. You gotta have
Oh yeah.
your little bottom and your little bear straw and your whole it's bizarre. I can't quite
That's a good
understand it.
that's a good old fashioned cross Under Armour water bottle. So
I have to say, I really regret several months ago I saw a Stanley one of those Stanley mugs at like we have you don't know this store, but it's called Bell's. It's like a TJ
I know
Maxx or
about
something.
it. I
Okay,
know
but
about
it's like a
it.
TJ Maxx, but it's like cheaper, than
Hmm.
them. But
Yeah.
we have one right up the street from us. I was in Bell's and they had a Stanley mug, And I looked at it and I was like, I don't, this is silly. I don't need one of these. And this was probably in like September. If I had known that that they were going to be sold out everywhere in the world and like everybody wants them, I would have bought that sucker, and I would have absolutely taken a little stupid profit in a heartbeat. I would have done the full
Sure.
blown, like, oh, you're an idiot. Yeah, I'll sell this to you for twice what it costs. Um, but I did not know, could not have anticipated.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So that's it. Giants, Eagles. I don't know. The Eagles have issues. They got to figure stuff out, but they are still a team that is loaded with talent. And if they figure it out at any moment, can make a run in the playoffs. That's what is going to make them so hard to pick against in the
For sure.
playoffs, because it's going to be, if they pull out a win, it's going to be like, yeah, but they're so talented. So,
Yep.
did they figure it out or whatever? All right. Seahawks, Cardinals. Hey, look,
It was
Kyler
an
Murray.
entertaining game. It was a fun game.
Two things. Jonathan Gannon, I thought, looked like the most boring coach in the NFL to start this season. And I'm not going to necessarily go against that. He might be. I remember seeing him. He gave a speech in the beginning of the season. It was just like, guy sounded like such a dork, and he just wasn't fun. It was just terrible, uninspiring. It like sounded like a guy trying to give a team a speech where he's like, well, guys, we're going to go out there and tank this season. So let's get out there and give it our middling. Is what the speech sounded like. But he seems to be like all on board for keeping Kyler Murray around. They
Yeah.
they've
Come out
given,
and said it.
and Kyler has looked good. So I don't know. The Seahawks, I mean the Cardinals might still. Hey, look, since Kyler got back, they played well.
That's who takes Marvin Harrison if he's still sitting at number 4.
Yeah, agreed.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Mhm.
And Harrison and Hollywood are a nice little combination.
Yeah, let's take the pressure off Hollywood to actually,
Mhm.
of having to actually be the guy. And they've
Smith,
got that. I mean, McBride's a good tight end too.
McBride's
I mean,
proven to be
like,
a good
and
tight end.
Connor's running like a monster. Like he
Yeah.
ran really, really well. And so the only reason Seattle won that game is they just decided to go for 2, which
Yeah.
is, obviously they may have won either way, but you know what I mean? Like good for Seattle. They had to win and needed help to get in, and they went for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I mean, you say Connor's running like a monster. I mean, he's always been a good running back. The problem has been he's not great against a 7-8 man front.
yeah,
Like nobody is. Derrick Henry 4 years ago, maybe. That's it.
yeah.
Mike, thoughts?
Nope.
Mike's like, okay,
Nothing to add.
get to the pick 'em.
Get to the pick 'em. I'm watching that clock and running out of
Yeah.
juice.
Rams,
Dean.
Niners. It was a close game. It was a fun game to watch. Just like Seahawks game was a fun game to watch. It's nothing mattered. But fun game.
It was fine. I didn't even bother watching it because all the backups were in. So on both teams, except
we-
for Puka,
but
right? Who got his
Yes,
rookie of the year thing.
but we finally got the Carson Wentz, Sam Darnold matchup we've always wanted to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Carson got the win. Chiefs Chargers, again, a nothing game, nothing matters.
Didn't care. Same thing.
Don't care. But I mean, I am wondering about the Chiefs going into the playoffs. But whatever. Let's go to the last game. The Bills Dolphins game was a good game.
Yes, it was.
I mean, Josh Allen, you saw everything about Josh Allen that you need to know. Turned the ball over a bunch of times in the first half, comes back in the second half with a will to win.
Yep.
He literally gave Miami every reason to win that game.
Yes, in the first half.
Like literally, it's like, here, you want the division. Here you go. You can have it. And Miami couldn't grab it.
And in the second half, I mean, when he ran for that one first down, that was, like, I don't know, 18 yards or something, and he just kind of lunged his way across the line. That was the moment where I was like, oh, they're not going to lose this game because Josh Allen has decided.
Well, not having Mostert and not having Waddle definitely hurts that offense.
No question. Because again,
but defensively too. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that. Yeah, because you can give up yards to Tyreek.
Sure.
And beat that team. In in the Ravens game and then this game, I have come to the realization that this is why Tyreek shouldn't be the MVP, because he can put up numbers and it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Up until the Ravens game, I'm not sure I knew that. It
That's
seemed like
tough
he
though,
could win a game.
because they're definitely, the coverage definitely is very different right now, not having Waddle there.
Sure.
Like it's the Kelsey factor in Kansas City. Once teams figured out you can take him out of the equation or limit him at least
Yeah.
by double teaming him and not have him be the guy that beats you,
Right.
well, somebody else has to step up. And it worked when they had Mostert and Achane and Waddle, all three to go along with Tyreek, but with two of those missing, I mean, Achane did fine. He didn't do anything bad, but he didn't do anything that great either.
No,
He averaged 5 yards a carry, but they didn't run the ball that much.
No, I would say they abandoned the run pretty early.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the Bills, I mean, I feel fine as a Ravens fan against the Bills. I feel like that's a team we can handle. But I wouldn't want to face the Bills if I were basically anybody else in the division or in the conference.
Yeah, they could be dangerous. They could definitely.
They could be.
They're playing good football. They're playing focused football. They're playing John Wick football.
Oh, then they can.
They're
be
playing.
dangerous.
Well, they are. They're playing singular of focus. They are a team singular of focus. And unless they run into another team that is singular of focus,
that's two singulars.
Yes. Well, because then if you have two teams that are singular of focus, then you have talent, and they don't have the talent that like the Ravens have. And one would assume then that talent wins out in that battle. But Lamar seems pretty singular of focus.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely
the only other guy that I see that has that same focus is Josh Allen.
Right now, yeah, I would agree.
Right now, yeah. I mean, Joe Flacco seems. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, he does. While they seem dangerous, he still seems very much like I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just like very much that, and that's working. But like, I think that when you get a guy who is like, I am willing to put the whole team on my shoulders and carry them 18 yards to get the first down on a 4th and 18, which is I think is where Josh Allen and Lamar both are. I don't think Joe is that.
I think this is a fun game, by the way. I think you need to come up with a movie reference representing where each one of the quarterbacks are that are remaining, because you've just pulled out John Wick and Clerks. So let's let's keep going.
All right. Anything else you want to say? What else you want to say about that game? Anything, Mike? You have nothing to add? You're useless here.
I just added it. You weren't listening.
Yeah. The only thing I heard you add was, "Oh, John Wick. Yeah, I like that movie."
Yeah. That was my contribution to this. I have nothing else to add to this. Really, I have nothing else to add.
All right.
It was week 18. There was a lot of crappy games, but that was one of the better games.
That was a better game. And
he clearly didn't watch any of them last weekend. So
well, and there was another game where like at the end of the game, Tua just missed throws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I saw hardly any games last week, to be honest with you.
See, I can tell.
Yeah, it's evident.
Where's your commitment to your craft, sir?
The only craft Mike cares about is craft services.
That's right. Craft beer, craft services.
Oh, craft beer. That would have been better. That was a better line, man. I hate when somebody upstages a line. Damn it, man. I really.
And all I heard when you guys said craft, I thought about Billy Madison with the teacher, the craft time with the glue on the stick.
Oh yeah, craft time. That was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a brief moment where I heard bare naked ladies and I was thinking of Kraft mac and cheese, but that's just me.
Nope.
All right, gentlemen, it's been 1 week since we made our picks. See, little bare naked ladies. That's okay. Nothing now.
No, you're not getting it.
God,
it was a reach. It was a reach.
I thought it was pretty good.
You would.
I did. I thought, thought I could venture out of movies and into 90s pop culture. All right.
I said
Wait
movie
till you hear
reference,
these
not
picks.
band.
Hey, bare naked ladies, man. I will always have a soft spot in my heart because as dumb as
Bare
it
naked
is,
ladies.
I love bare naked ladies.
because
I do love me some bare naked ladies, baby.
as dumb as it
La,
is,
la.
every time I hear them sing, I just made you say underwear, it makes me giggle just a little bit.
Of course it
As
is.
dumb
Because
as that line
because
is,
you're 12.
it
And
100% taps into my 12-year-old brain every single time. And I'm like, there are occasionally things that I like. There are occasionally things that I will laugh at, and I'm like embarrassed that it makes me laugh, but I cannot help myself. Like they tickle a little part of my brain in a way that I can't like resist, and that's one of them. Anyway, all right, let's see.
thank you for not letting me down, Mike. Appreciate that.
All right, sorry. Before we make picks, Mike, I just put your camera on. You soft, weak ass. Like, put your camera on. Put your
You
camera
went
on
for
and make
your
picks. Need to see
nighttime
your
walk.
face.
You're okay.
Oh my God.
He goes, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm so tired.
Where's the ceiling fan? I missed the ceiling fan. There we go. I think I like it better than like Alien Mike with the red ear, like Frankenstein things coming out.
So are we announcing that I'm the regular season champion?
No, it's not done. This was never about
regular.
Before
regular
I
season.
before I say anything else, this is Mike right here. This is Mike. This is what I see come up. It's freaking Lobot.
Regular season champion.
There is no such thing.
This is Mike. This is you turn that camera on, and this is the guy that I see. You guys remember this guy?
No.
From Star Wars?
No. I do vaguely remember him. Yes.
Lando's right-hand man.
His butler.
In what movie?
In Empire Strikes Back. In Cloud City.
I honestly do not remember that guy at all. That's funny.
Hold on a second. Cloud City. Was that Empire? Yeah, because that's where they took the frozen Han. No, Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Sorry. It was because Han got frozen at the end of
right.
Empire. Yeah.
Empire.
He was Lando Calrissian's right-hand man, but he had the weird headset that glowed red, just like Mike right this minute.
Beep beep, Richie.
All right, Cleveland. The Cavaliers go down to face the Rockets. First game kickoff playoffs. 2.5 point spread. Cleveland's the favorite. What are we thinking, Mike?
Houston
at home. All right.
I'm gonna have to go with Cleveland. That defense, and then combined with the way they've been playing, like, yeah.
I really would like Houston to win. I really want Houston to win. And I'll be really happy if Mike's the only one that gets this game right.
No, because then he'll be up too.
Yeah, that's fine. I really like this game. I really like Houston to win. But rookies in the playoffs, number one, but yeah, Cleveland is dangerous. So yeah, Cleveland it is. All right. Miami goes to Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 3.5. That is a little surprising, I have to say, except Miami's been playing like garbage. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and losing both of their edge rushers, they're not going to get as much pressure on Mahomes.
Yeah, well, that's the question. Who all is out for the Dolphins?
Chubb is out, and so is I forget the guy on the other side. Their top two guys are out. And I think Xavier Howard's out too.
Xavier Howard's been out.
Yeah, he's been out. Yeah.
Let's see. 4 players would not. Oh, come on now. would not have practiced, Xavier Howard being one of them. Is Waddle or Mostert, are they coming back?
I don't know. I'm looking to see.
So, okay. So Mike, what's your
Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas City as well. I really want Miami to win this game, but I feel like they're really banged up right now.
yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas City as well. I guess we're all taken. Yeah, I don't think Miami will have an answer. Um, too many weak spots. All right, this is an interesting game. Pittsburgh at Buffalo, but it's a 10-point spread. Buffalo favorite.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm taking Buffalo.
Pittsburgh.
You have to take Pittsburgh.
Yeah. All
That's
right. So
that's Brian's line.
this is where I 100% make up one game on Mike, and that is I'll take Buffalo. Because I think Buffalo is gonna. I mean, I don't. I think they're going to show that Pittsburgh doesn't belong in the playoffs.
It is a big line. I mean,
It's a huge line for a playoff game.
Yeah, but there's also a reason why it's the 11 a.m. game and not one of the primetime games.
1 p.m.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's 11. Yeah, so what? I'm
right.
actually surprised it's not the Saturday afternoon game, but that tells you what they think about the Cleveland Houston game too.
Well, I was gonna say I really hate this the way that they're doing this this year, where it's all 3 AFC games, then all 3 NFC games. I don't know why they haven't mixed it up at all. It's very weird.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I was more surprised that they separated it out and everybody gets a game by themselves. Because in the past you used to kind of have one of each on.
One on Fox, one on CBS. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that they're spread out more now.
I don't remember them doing playoffs on Monday either.
No, I think this is the first season, but having Troy Aikman and Joe Buck helps that.
And I think that's why we have everybody gets their own time slot, because they're just using all their time slots.
Yeah.
All right. Green Bay going to Dallas as a 7.5-point dog.
Green Bay.
Girls.
I hate this one.
I think Green Bay's lucky to be in the playoffs, personally.
Well, they are.
I think the Cowboys are going to roll them. They're at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go. Well, it's more the spread that I'm thinking about. I'm going to go with Dallas.
A 27-17 game would not surprise me at all.
A 2017 game wouldn't surprise me either.
Oh, it wouldn't mean. That would mean Dallas didn't show up to me.
All it takes is one injury for Dallas.
That's true about literally every game ever. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. There's a better than 0% chance. Like, are you like channeling your inner Mike tonight? Is that what's going on, or what are you doing?
All right, Rams at Detroit. Detroit is a 3-point favorite at home.
Really love this game. I really want to watch this game, and I won't be able to.
Rams.
Man, that's tough. I'm going to go Lions. And I'm going to say it's because of the special teams.
All right.
As far as I know, everybody's healthy.
I'm going to take the Rams as well. I think they've come in really hot. And I hate this game. All right. Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams. Make it a 4-point spread. I'd feel better, but all right. All right. Now, the really interesting one, Monday Night Football, Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Philly is the 2.5-point favorite.
Tampa.
Sticking with Baker the Cake Maker.
Baker the Cake Maker.
Can I reserve the right to change my mind.
Of course.
Yeah, for me, I want to see how some of these injuries play out on the Philadelphia side. If they're healthy, I'm going to go Philly. But if any of those key players get missed, I'm going to switch to Tampa. Tampa's just, we can't forget their record. Like, they're not a good team. They're not a terrible team. They're a middle of the road team.
Yeah.
They're 9-8 as a division. They're a 500 team, and I think Philly's better than that.
Yeah. My only problem is I just watched that Philly Giants game.
Yeah, but that's a division rivalry game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's the Giants Super Bowl for the season in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they lost a lot of people. I think once they lost Brown and then Hurts injured his finger, I think they just resigned to being a wild card. They're like, we don't want anybody else to get hurt.
I agree. But I have to say, from early on in that game, I've never seen a team look like they quit so much. They looked like a team that had already resigned themselves that the Cowboys were going to win, and
yeah, it could be. Maybe they came in going, we don't want to get injured, but in doing so, they got injured.
I'm going to take Philly, but I'm looking at my line here, and I'm taking 5 favorites and 1 underdog, and that seems like a bad ratio. I mean,
I am taking
2 underdogs are going to win.
I'm taking 5 underdogs.
Yeah, 2 underdogs are going to win.
Mike's taking 5 underdogs.
5 of them. You laugh now, just you wait.
2 of them are going to win for sure.
I don't know. I get if based on that logic, my flip would be to Tampa. That's the one of these games I would probably go against. You think they're going to outright win, though?
I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying they're going to cover.
I know. You're saying they're going to cover. He's saying they're going to outright win.
I'm saying 2 underdogs are going to win. I'm going to take Philly.
I got you.
I'm going to take Philly.
Okay.
No, I'm saying 2 underdogs are going to win. That you know.
I hear you.
I can't remember the last time that every favorite won.
If there are going to be 2, then for me that is going to be Miami and Tampa.
Yeah, I think Houston maybe has a shot against Cleveland.
It's weird, right? Like, it's a weird game. Like, I don't know why, but Houston just has such a cool kind of spirit about them, and I have to think it's Ryan's. Like, they just don't care who you are, and they come in ready to play their game and force you to try and stop them.
Yes. Yeah,
which is why they're like, even if you're not a fan of the team, they're fun to watch.
Yeah, no, they're fun to watch for sure. Now, the Browns beat the Texans last time they played, and that was, pretty recent. Beat them pretty handily.
Yeah, I don't remember who played in that game, though. Like, because the Texans have had
Davis Mills. Yeah, they didn't have C.J. Stroud. It was Davis Mills.
That's why I'm like, it was a different game, though, right? So it's not quite not quite the same.
All right, children, I gotta get to bed.
All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Mike's gonna go. Big baby's got to go bed. We gotta go bye, guys.
I'm getting.
Gotta get his bottle of milk.
I'm getting tucked in.
Go bed, Mikey. Go bed. It's amazing you're still single, Mike. Don't understand it. It's a constant shock to me. All right.
Hey,
good luck. Dream of bare naked ladies, my friend.
I am. Thank you.
Hey, one thing I wanted to tell you before you go. I thought of you yesterday, the day before. I was perusing,
Backpage,
fascism.com.
It doesn't exist.
Fascism.com, and somebody, I don't know, somehow came up on my stream. I don't even know who this person was, who basically started, was like, Zulu women are the most beautiful women in the world. And it was just like, here's a thread. And it was like, the whole thread was just like, all like, here are all the bare breasted women of like all the pictures of like
Oh,
bare breasted Zulu women that I have. And it was
oh, that's
like,
awesome.
yeah, I was like, man, if Mike were here on fascism.com, he'd love this.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that.
Yes, I know you
Well,
would.
on that note, I'm going to go dream of boobies.
I figured
I
you'd do
will,
that anyway.
I will talk to you both soon.
Good luck.
All right, night.
Ciao.
Good luck.
Ciao.
I hope it works out for you in your dreams.
Ciao. It always does.
Better than in real life. All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess nothing else to say. I'm going to go ahead and stop this thing.
Let's do it.